Hey, everybody, welcome to The Thirsty Professional. This is a place where we grab a bevy, coffee today, as always. We ditch the bullshit and we get real about careers, purpose, and our passion. I'm your host, Beth Ann Campbell. I'm a survivor of 23 years in corporate chaos, now working on my creativity badassery, which is perfect because today we've got a very creative individual with us today. I am author of the award-winning Where the Hell is My Bacon? For all of you folks out there who are struggling with your corporate getting laid off and the ageism, great book for you. If you're watching live out there, thank you for joining. Let us know you're here in the comments, where you're from, and most importantly, what are you drinking? If you're watching the replay, please give us a hashtag replay. And of course, let us know if you have any questions or feedback so we can address it either during this live stream or on a future episode. So today, my very special guest on The Thirsty Professional is the neighborhood hustler, aka Lion Fludd. Lion is a dynamic content creator and educator. He's dedicated to showcasing the art of video content through his innovative platform, VCA Academy. He has such a diverse background, such an amazing background. He has military service, film and TV work, like some serious stuff. Like he was an extra on some movies that you've probably heard of or watched, like Field of Dreams and The Bourne Identity, Brush with Fame. Now into entrepreneurship. And yes, with Lion, there are just many ands. He has been known to wear a kilt and he has his own brand of whiskey. So all of these things and more we're going to talk about today. Please help me welcome Lion Fludd. Lion, welcome to The Thirsty Professional. I love it that
Thank
you
you
wear a
for
hat.
having me.
Thank you
Yes,
for
I
wearing a
have
hat. I love
so
it.
many of them as well.
I love it. It's kind of a trend. I think almost all of my guests so far have worn a hat, so I'm really excited. So today we're going to talk about your journey, and we're going to talk about why it's important for our virtual presence to look professional, make an impact. But first, of course, I have to ask Lion, do you have a bevy today, and what are you drinking? I saw you raise a cup.
I do. I have my little bevy here. Live
Oh, nice.
happens.
Oh, I love
And
it.
I'm simply just doing water currently at the moment.
You're so healthy. You're so healthy.
Working on
I
it.
really want to quit coffee. I have tried to quit coffee probably, I don't know, 10 times in the last 5 years. I can't. Do you drink coffee or tea or anything at all?
It is such a crazy thing you said that because I don't drink coffee. My wife, big coffee drinker, and she has her own coffee company.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, but I get tea. I do tea from her coffee company, but not coffee.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. It's really hard and it's less of that it's addictive for me and it's just more habitual. It's a comfort. It's just feels good to have. I don't even
Yeah.
like the taste of coffee, which is odd because I put all kinds of crap in it, but like, chocolate, hot chocolate, sugar-free hot chocolate. Anyway, so much for that. Anyway, so I was just checking, you're in the Myrtle Beach area.
Yep.
And I was just checking the weather because I walked out this morning and it was 15 degrees here in Central Virginia, which is for those folks who are not in the US. That's about -9 degrees Celsius. And I saw that you're a little cold too, but you're going to be
Yeah.
in the mid 60s, about 18 degrees Celsius next week. So jealous. You live by the beach, you must be a warm weather person.
I absolutely am. I love the water. It's such a soothing comfort and that tropical feel in some ways.
Yeah.
But some people mistakenly don't think that it does get cold here as well. We
Yeah.
get cold because that wind coming off of the ocean, but it's nothing to compare with other people in the snow and the cold you just referenced.
Yeah. I tell people that I moved to Virginia to escape the Michigan because I'm from Michigan. Michigan, for those of you who don't know, is in the north of the United States, and winters can be very cold. But this winter, I don't feel like I escaped the Michigan winters. It's been for a lot of the country. It's been polar vortex and snow,
Yeah.
and but anyway.
Yeah.
Just gonna check into the comments. We have Stella coming in from Sweden, and she's got the
Oh,
fluffy coffee latte is in the mug. I love it. That's you were a woman after my own heart, Stella, because that's exactly what I'm into. All right, we got a lot to talk about here. Oh, Trisha Lewis coming in. Trisha was on last week from
hey,
not
Trisha.
sunny Bournemouth. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Is it? I want to say Bourne Identity, but it's probably Bournemouth or something like that. Like Worcester is spelled weird. No drink for Trisha. That's okay. That's all right. We have a spiritual bevy, Trisha. All right, Lion. I want to start before we jump into the good video stuff. I want to talk about your journey to here. How did you get from military, Air Force and Marine Corps to now you're helping people with their video content? You're a coach. You help people take their virtual space from zero to hero. What's that evolution?
The simplest answer I love to give people with that is that I am a serial learner, right? Entrepreneur, learner, whatever it is. I get uh, I get very bored very easily. And for those who are listening of why that happens, and this is a short, kind of encompass thing about it is I have a very, very high IQ, 152. I'm very smart, intelligent. I used to
I
never
have no
sit.
doubt. You're brilliant, really, honestly, some of your content that you do, yeah, but anyway,
I
I won't
I
gush.
I used to hate saying that because as a kid you would get teased and stuff, but now I'm great with it, and then learned that it's passed down to my son, and so we kind of empower him with that. But with that being said, I get very bored very easily. I set a goal, I accomplish it, and then I'm done with it, right? And so that's one reason of why I jump into other things. Unlike setting the goal and quitting because it got hard, I usually accomplish it and then I'm just on to the next thing. So that's why I've been in so many things and learned so many
Yeah.
things.
Does that high IQ, in your adulthood or even in your childhood, was that, what did that look like? Was that, you just needed to be more challenged, or how did that kind of manifest as a challenge in itself?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, especially as a kid, and also especially at and growing up in the time frame that I did, it was not one of those acceptable things, right? Being smart, being a nerd was you were
Oh, yeah.
teased, and then also being inside of the African American community, that wasn't something
Mm,
that was prevalent, right? You
yeah,
didn't see that, and if it was, you were outcast.
yeah.
So it was hit a lot. Even in when I went to college, for example, I literally could be absolutely asleep. My professor would wake me up and said, "What did I just say?" And I was able to recite basically everything they just said because
Wow.
that auditory I learned in that sense. And then I always had to keep something in my hand and fiddle with it, right? So I had a deck of
Yeah,
cards, is what I used to use. And when it came time for our tests, they told me I couldn't use it, but because they thought I was cheating. They thought I
oh,
had
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
written on it. So yeah, there was challenges abroad being in that way, and most people usually think because you are have a high IQ, yet you're smarter than them, and it's not. It's just I see the world differently. I see
yeah.
things differently. I Some things that most people find challenging is easy for me, and some things that are challenging for me is easy for them.
Can you think of something that you find challenging that maybe other people don't, or vice versa?
Yeah. So, for an example, I'll start with the latter first. Is that, and I have some videos on this, and I posted them sometime. It is my Rubik's cube, right? So I'm able to solve the Rubik's cube blindfolded, right? Because I can see the algorithm, I can see it, and so that's just a simple thing. And most people find that challenging to even just solve the
I
Rubik's
have
cube,
never in my entire life, and I was a child of the '80s, I never in my life have been able to solve the Rubik's Cube, so
right?
there you go,
And
let
then
alone blindfolded, that's amazing.
oh man, whew, yeah. And then something on the other side that is challenging for me is simple items. For example, if we go to the grocery store, my wife and and she's looking at something and she's saying, "Well, this will work," and I'm like, "But how? No, you can't get two of those for that price." And because my brain just analytically thinks the numbers don't add up, right? But it's not about the numbers for 2 for 1 special, for an example.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're losing I go too deep into it, right? They're
I wonder
losing
if that's
money.
a I wonder if that's a I don't mean to sound reverse misogynistic, but I wonder if that's a man thing because my husband struggles, I think, and it's not about the numbers, but it's more about like where is stuff? And I think as women, we're evolved to be more multitasking. You got the kid on one hand, you're cooking dinner, you're
Yeah.
picking corn or whatever, and I think it's sometimes, and I hear this from my other friends too, that we go to the grocery store with our husbands and it's like they're just like there's too much too much stimulation. I don't know, maybe there's a little ADHD
Yes.
there going on or
Yes.
something. That's funny.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Well, what else? So, what else did you do between military and you talk? I want to talk a little bit about your TV and film stuff. Well, and also
Mhm.
your appearances because you teased in one of your promos. You've been in a lot of lives, podcasts, TV shows, stuff that we've heard of. Even not just. I'm not even talking about when you were an extra, but just in interview and appearances. You kind of
Yes.
teased that you would maybe give us a little insight into into your tips or your advice or your secret as to how that happens. But you've done a lot of that, and weren't you a paralegal for a while too?
I was. Yep. I
Yeah.
started down that path and I was intending to go to law school. I got to my last quarter, last semester, whichever it was, and my aunt still till this day still kind of gets on me with that. Uh, because I quit. I was like, I'm bored. She's like, you did all that work, and
Ryan, we
now
could have had a
you
lawyer in the house.
yeah. And I was like, I just don't want to do it. It's not my passion. And that's what happens a lot of times with me as well. When I get to do something, I usually just end up leaving it because I get bored. It's,
Yeah.
I'm like, so, but yeah, jumping into that kind of movie scene, I started when I was young because I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, and they were filming at the baseball field, and they were just like, we need extras. So I started in a young age
Why
there,
not? Yeah.
and then going in through the world, I was still like, hey, I enjoy that movie type of atmosphere. And so I started still staying in the sphere. That's one of the biggest things. You just got to stay in the know, in essence, to be a part of
Yeah.
that, even for
Yeah.
extras. And one of the funniest things is when we were filming, I say we, but when they were filming Bourne Identity,
It was our film.
right? Um, there was a scene, and it was so funny. There was a young lady. They were filming it. We had to keep doing it. For anyone who does not understand, it's not just a one take. You're like
Yeah.
there for 18 hours, even as an extra, filming.
And you're
And
getting paid, do you get paid like a daily rate too? So it doesn't matter if you're there for
yeah,
or is yeah.
yeah, it's not
Okay. Yeah.
hourly. It's just that,
Yeah.
and most people, it's not about the money, right? They just want to be a
Yeah.
part of
Just to be in
that,
it.
and so it's tiresome. It's aggravating because you're not getting paid a lot, but still, you just want to be a part
But
of
then
that
you can
action.
say, "Hey, I was in Field of Dreams and the Bourne Identity." So there you go.
Yeah, and so what was happening is as they were filming in this one scene in the casino, my brain, of course, is that I'm just calculating, and I'm just like, okay, so this is this. We need to be. All right, so I told the young lady, I said, stay with me. We're going to get on the camera because I was figuring out
How old
when.
were you?
This was maybe what that came out like 10 years ago, so
Okay.
37,
So,
something like
okay. So
that.
you're this is not when you were a kid. Okay.
No, right. So this was in Born Identity, just recently, filmed.
Yeah.
So I'm figuring out what time frame the camera is going to come by our section. And so the directors are like, action. And she gets ready to go. And I'm like, no, don't move. I'm like, stay here, stay here. And then I'm like, okay, let's go. And so as we're going, the camera comes by and we're looking, and then they stopped it, and Matt Damon was walking back by, and this is just me and my oh my goodness. So I say to him, I said, hey Matt, you're doing a great job. I don't care what the directors say. And he turns to me and starts laughing. He starts laughing.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love how your
Yeah.
your brain is like, I'm going to calculate where I can be most strategically at the best spot when the camera hits with the big star. I love it. Okay, we're gonna wait, no, we got to talk about a little bit about so you no, we'll go back to that later. We're gonna come back
Yep.
to your secret for your appearances. I want to check in with the comments because we got a lot of people joining in. Jerry Gray, my good friend Jerry Gray, also known as Jake Gray. So anybody who amazing musician, singer, go look up Jake Gray. He is awesome. I have a ton of his crap. Every time one of his songs comes on when I'm in my shuffle, it starts and I'm like, oh my God, the production value of this is so amazing. And then it's like, oh, it's Jake Gray. So look up Jake Gray. He's awesome. And also Jerry Gray. He's also just a really smart guy who's in the working world. Stella Scott says, I like Serial Learner. I do too. I like that too. Seamus Corey is here today. Seamus is going to be a guest a little bit later in the year. Loving the hat. Thank you, Seamus. Thank you. I can't wait to bring your story here. Seamus has got an amazing, amazing story to tell you guys. It's like nothing you probably ever heard. Trisha says I would destroy it before solving it, I think. I think she means the Rubik's Cube. So yeah,
Yeah.
same here. I don't know. Never. I was always jealous of people who could do that, even if it took them a long time, because it's just something that's just not, my brain just doesn't work like that. And Seamus agrees with that. Um, Kelly Rodriguez, thanks for coming on, Kelly. Kelly says, just take the stickers off and rearrange, problem solves. Yes, thank you, Kelly. That is the best advice. That is probably what I did back in the 80s. So Stella says, I can relate to the high IQ. Mine's not as high, but in the Mensa level, it's been a challenge and still is. It's like watching my brain doing things, solve problems, and I have no idea how she did that. Yeah, that's a great insight.
Yeah.
Trisha says, probably based on my grocery store, is it a guy thing? Trisha says, our two brain halves are more connected than the male brain. I think that's scientific. I would agree. I think men are really good at generally at, I don't like to stereotype it, but generally there is an evolution of focus, right? And I know my husband is really good at focusing and I have a lot of trouble focusing. So I would
Mhm.
completely agree with that. Trisha, I've done some of the extra stuff, but never got to see myself in a cutting room floor situation. Well, you know what? There's always a first time.
Yeah.
Trisha, you never know. Jerry says, thanks for the plug, Beth. Absolutely. Jerry, aka Jake. Really seriously, go look him up. He's amazing. And he put a link in. Yay. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. This is why, folks, I always encourage people, if you're out there listening, get involved in the comments, get involved in the engagement. I love it. It's what I love about lives. And,
Yes.
we get shout outs and you get to learn new things and you get to get some new music here. So it's awesome. Beth, Jerry says, by the way, Beth, I love that hat. I know I've seen it before, but it's just amazing. Thank you. This is Miss Hattie Arbuckle for anybody who is unaware. She does have a name. Okay. All right, Lion, let's jump to what you're doing right now, and then we'll
Okay.
talk a little bit about how that plays into our virtual space. So you have tell us what is VCA Academy.
Yeah, so it's in a simplistic form, it's an academy that just teaches people how to sound, look, and perform better on camera, right?
I love it. That's brilliant.
Yeah, especially when in this virtual space, right? We were all thrusted into it in some
Yes.
ways. And then in the beginning, it was like, okay, everyone's doing it. But during times that went longer, it was needed to be quality, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and everyone says that, okay, I can do this and get on it. But when the lights and the cameras come on, sometimes people freeze. So we showed them how to speak in a way that's going to capture the audience attention, right? Using those tonalities, the posture, using hand motions instead of talking fast. In essence, it's just to get you comfortable to shine on camera.
Yeah, well, I remember, I've had a lot of people compliment me, and thank you everybody who has, about just, they said, I wish I could do videos as natural as you and as confident.
Mhm.
I wasn't always that way, right? So if you're,
Yeah.
first of all, if you're out there and you don't feel that confidence, look Lion up and see he can most definitely help. But I was definitely, if I watch old videos of myself, I can see myself shaking. My
Yes.
voice is shaking. I wasn't even worried about, the technology or whatever. I was just, I got to just get through this
Yeah.
without, dying from lack of breath. I know when I talked to you before, you had some great tips for just generally speaking on camera, right? And you had
Right.
some really good, just very simple tips for people who are just beginning their journey in maybe video or virtual space. Can you tell us a few of those?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, so one of my biggest kind of things, even though I overcomplicate things and do some things like that, is just simplicity, right? Because if something works, do more of it, I say.
Yeah,
And if you overcomplicate it, now you don't want to do it, right? So if it's easy, you're going to want to do it. And so that's why I love these tips because they're simple and easy and you can
yeah,
implement them right away. I break them down into four things. Number one is simply grab your phone, and I always say this to my clients and people I work with: is start ugly, right? Don't worry about perfection. Just hit record, start
yeah.
ugly. That's the first hump, is getting over it and just hitting the record button.
Yes.
Um, Once you do that, 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, record yourself speaking about any subject that you love. Do not script it out. Do not go and write it. Don't think. This is not about thinking. If you like gardening, talk about the process of you gardening, right? 5 minutes. After you do that, take some headphones, plug them in, put the phone down so you cannot see it, and just listen to yourself for 5 minutes. You're going to now see or hear rather what your audience hears. You're going to say, "Oh my goodness, am I sounding like Bueller, right? Is this what they hear?"
Yeah.
So then after that, now you flip the phone over, you watch yourself on mute so you can see how your facial expressions go, your
That is
body
brilliant.
posture, right?
I have before you told me that, I never had thought about turning off the sound and watching it silently just for the facial expressions and the mannerisms.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's a great tip.
Yeah, it because now it focuses your makes your brain focus on just that one part, right? If you're hearing it, you're
Yeah.
listening to two different things, watching something else. And so then after you do that, you get to see, wow, I didn't know my face was that way. Is that why people aren't
Right.
responding to me or whatever?
I
Uh,
I say I say, "Beth, could you possibly smile while you're talking?" Because when I'm not with a guest, I'm just talking and I have to actually sometimes remind myself, put the smile in your eyes if you're not, if you're talking and
mm,
it's hard, but it's just because I would watch myself and go, why am I not smiling? This is, it's a
yes.
happy thing, but it's just, you get so, even now, just you get so focused and you just realize, oh, okay, all right, that's something I need to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this right here comes into what you were just referencing, right? We're gonna analyze ourselves. We have to look at our numbers. We have to look at ourselves to improve. And then the last thing is to take your video and put it into some form of a transcript where you can get a printout. So now you get to look and see how many word fillers that you're using.
Yeah.
Word fillers are good. They're not the worst thing, right? But if you use them strategically and on purpose, and just even in general, but you get to see, man, I said like 100 times within that 5 minutes, or
I'm an
uh,
ummer, yeah.
yeah,
It is really interesting, especially if you use I don't know if you have if your, academy has a preference or uses it, but I use any number of apps for transcription over the last few years, and they're really good at calling out, and it's amazing when you pull your transcript into something and you see
hmm
how many times you have the ums and the ahs. Now, and Jerry Gray can probably attest to this because he and I were in a Toastmasters club together, and I probably said this publicly that I'm not a person who believes that you have to never have a filler word,
right,
because I think it does make, in some cases,
humanize.
our speech more of a flow, and that's just how sometimes we talk. But
hmm
there is a point, and I am guilty of this. This is why I have to use transcription and look at what I have, and work on that stuff, because I am an extrovert, and extroverts, not even just extroverts. Some people just are. I think people in general are just uncomfortable sometimes with pauses. So we
Yeah,
have to fill them, and you don't have to fill them. There's power in silence too. But to your point and to your tip, you will be amazed at how many times you say so, or
yes,
whatever it is that your choice words are, or repeating words like that, like or yes, yes.
yeah.
That kind of stuff will show up in your transcript. So
Yeah,
great tip.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's when I was, just kind of referencing there. I said like word fillers aren't a bad thing if you use them strategically, right? If
Yeah.
you don't use them as much, you can use them. Uh, for an example, okay, so just like I did just then,
Just like you did right there. Yeah.
right? I use that on purpose
Yeah.
because that shows like, okay, maybe he's thinking, oh, then he came up with the idea, right? So you can use word fillers like, let's say, oh, yes. So this is what that just did is it took the audience on a journey. They were thinking, like, oh, what is he thinking? Oh, he got the idea, right? So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
acting in a sense as well. So those
Yeah,
are little
that's
tips
brilliant.
and tricks that you can use to pull your audience into your journey.
Yeah, I love it. So, record yourself, talk about something that you're not, you don't have to think about. Just
hmm
talk for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Listen to yourself, watch yourself with no sound,
Yeah.
and pull a transcript. Did I get most of
Yeah.
those? Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
awesome. We'll
Simple.
throw those in the comments too, because I think those are really, really good tips. What do you think? So when people are in that virtual space, what are some of the, other than what you've talked about with filler words, which we all are aware of and most of us have to work on to some extent, and of course the fear which comes with practice. For me it was the more I did it, the more it was great. But what are some things or something that you see people doing a lot that's maybe easily avoidable in that virtual space?
Ooh, this is one of my favorite ones because it's something that our brain recognizes, but we don't see it as an issue right
Oh, I
away.
hope I don't do this.
I don't think
Probably do.
I don't think I see you do this as often. I've watched you for a good while, and I think we referenced this before. But here's the thing: so in this virtual space, we already have a barrier, right? We're not connected. We're not in the room together where we feel the energy if we're
Truth.
talking or something like that. Or maybe we're even in that space where we can just smell the sweat on someone, right? like,
Literally
like,
sometimes,
"Ooh,
yeah.
yeah. And so we have to create that connection. And that
Yeah.
comes through our emotion, that comes through our energy as well. But the main thing is it comes through our eye contact. We're
Oh, yeah,
always
yeah,
told when you're speaking to someone, look them in the eye. Shows
yeah.
them your character, your truthfulness, whatever. And so what we do is this: we go and say, and if you notice, I said it to you right before we started. I was like, "Hey, let me put you into my teleprompter," because I
Yeah, yeah.
needed to see your face. So directly, I'm looking at your face, which my camera's behind it, so I don't have to really think about looking into the camera. I'm looking at your face on my screen and directly into the camera. Most people do this. They look at the monitor and they're looking at your face. And they're thinking they're talking to you because I see your face on my screen here. I see your face on my monitor.
Yeah,
And I'm saying, hey, join my club, my mentorship, my membership. I need you to be a part of this. But your brain is saying, why is he looking down?
yeah,
He's asking me to join and give part of my life or whatever I need, but he's looking down. But when we come here, now
yeah.
we create that
It's definitely a
connection.
connection, and I
So,
think for, like, casual networking call, that's fine, but if you're
yes,
really into you're speaking to the people out in the world, it's so important. I've really, I know you have some, well, you've got in fact, if you're not following or connected with Lion, go out because you
yes,
just put out a great visual of your setup, which is amazing. But you also have had some tips, which I want you to tell us about too, about how you can do that. What I tend to do is because I have notes, so I just really, this is very old school, folks, but I have notes. I put them on a black background. It's just a Word document, and I center my notes. And people will use teleprompters too. I don't like teleprompters. I just like having notes, and I will center them kind of right. It's a little wonky with doing a live because I got notes, I got comments, and then I got to look at Lion, and I can't position Lion. I would have to have another setup like you do. But I think there are some things that people do, that can help them focus. So what if I'm a beginner or fairly novice, what can I do to help so that I'm looking at the camera more?
perfect question. I love it. But before that, I want to ask you a question because this is one of those things when you said it, I want to figure out why
You know
really
it.
quick.
Bring it
Let me
on.
go brain. You said you hate teleprompters. Can you share with me really quick why?
It's not, hate is a strong word. I just prefer, maybe because I've just done it so many times, like
Hmm.
hundreds of times. I am a manual teleprompter, right? So the teleprompters that I've used in the past have been, and they're probably a lot better now, but they're I don't have control. So I
Gotcha.
like, and with something like this, I don't follow exactly. I'm not reading. I have notes, and there are questions in my notes that I won't ask you,
Hmm.
and there are questions that are not here that I will. So it's a little,
Yep.
that's not following exactly. So I think for this type of a venue for me, it just makes more sense to have some notes that I can go back and forth to different
Perfect.
spots. Now, if you're talking about, I have used them for solo. Did a I did a fake bacon commercial once because I have a book about bacon, and things like that where it is scripted. I have used teleprompter, so I don't hate them. I
Gotcha.
just, for what I do, it just makes more sense to do notes where I have more control. But yeah, talk to me. Tell me.
Okay.
Try to convince me why I should use
So,
teleprompter.
and the reason why I ask that is because when people hear teleprompter, usually they think of it as just being that written material inside there. And for those
Yeah,
who don't know, think of a newsroom
Mhm.
and so forth. They're reading, and
Yes.
they have that funny part in Anchorman Ron Burgundy where someone
Yeah,
changed the words and he said it.
right.
So but, I highly recommend teleprompters to everyone who's looking to, venture into that speaking portion, but here's why.
Yes.
Not just for the script. I use my teleprompter, and I put a script in there maybe, 5 times, and I've had it 6, 7 years, for an example. I use it primarily for my Zoom room. I will put my entire gallery in my teleprompter. I use it
Ah,
just for the facial portion of it, right? So right now, my teleprompter, you're in my teleprompter. I'm looking at your face
cool.
in my teleprompter,
Nice.
right? So that's the only reason why I use it for, so that I can give my audience, I can give you that attention of me looking directly at you instead of looking at my monitor where your face is at also, right? So that's an
Yeah,
example. I use my
yeah.
teleprompter strictly for that.
That's brilliant. I never even thought of using a teleprompter without the script in it, so that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I've heard of people doing things like putting a piece of tape up where the camera is or a little picture of a face to kinda get them to,
Mhm.
I mean, there's probably an element, would you agree, that of it's just also practice because it is sometimes hard to like, it's hard for me not to look at you even though I know I'm not looking directly in the camera, so it's
Mhm.
difficult because the connection for me is so for me as the speaker, my connection is I'm looking into your eyes. If I'm
Yeah.
connecting with the audience, I'm gonna have to adjust a little bit. And then if I have, of course, I have my notes or my comments that are a little further down. So it does become a little bit of a dance, but it does get easier
Yeah,
with practice.
and with that, I can assure you, for example, if you look into it, that option of having that teleprompter can make that easier because
Yeah,
in that same boat there, you can have me centered here on your teleprompter, and you can have your notes centered underneath it. So you're
oh,
looking at my face and looking at your notes, big and bold, so you
yeah,
don't have to adjust that. But that's, down the line if someone wants to go
yeah,
that route. So some of the tips though, like that, in reference to what you just said, one of
yeah,
the simplest things I tell people and what I did when I first have it in my webcam, for example, is I have a post-it note, one of those arrow ones, and then I have it written on there that says "Look here," and it's pointing at the little small pinhole of a webcam, right? So as
yeah,
I'm going, I see it and I have to force myself. Okay, I have that
yeah,
little note, and like you said, I have someone who had two eyeballs, kind of
yeah.
thing, and they
A
put it
little
sort of,
smiley face. Yeah,
yeah, and it
yeah,
gives them that. But the main thing about that is just you have to push yourself to
yeah,
say, I gotta look here. And every once in a while, and it's okay to look, and look down and so forth. And if that's a
yeah,
natural progression. But I've had people who will have an entire conversation with me like this right here, and
yeah.
they never look at
That
me.
is that is awkward, especially when you're one-on-one or if someone is giving a presentation. It just feels very, very awkward.
It
So, yeah, I
does.
completely concur. Let me go to the notes real quick here before we
Okay.
move on. Let's see. Trisha Lewis says, "Yes, good tips. I believe in the power of Toto. Try, observe, try, observe." Yeah, great. Applies to anything. Trisha says, "We both have lovely eye smiles." Thank you, Trisha.
Thank you.
Stella says, "It was when I started looking at me on video, I realized my mouth is uneven while speaking." I realize that too. I tend to kind of go one side, but it's just the way I was watching myself the other day, and I think I was in a networking call, and I thought, am I having a stroke because one
Oh,
side of my face, but it's just how I talk. It's just, I have a little bit of a Drew Barrymore thing going on. So it's no biggie. Stella says US people and ahs more than any other. Perhaps. Perhaps maybe there's a Swedish version of the and the ah. Stella, are you digging really deep? Stella says also I've tried teleprompters, but generally it works better with me if I have notes on paper and just go with my flow. I never use a script for my astrological lives here in LinkedIn, but because I know what I'm talking about, images, states, archetypes, etc., enough to get my brain going. Yep. I don't think that personally there's a right or wrong. I know people who can just put a couple of bullet points and they can speak
mhm.
on the fly very professionally. I tend to, when I'm doing solo, I tend to script out everything, but I do, and I don't read it, but I have all of the information, but I do that partly because I don't like writing stuff after the fact. I'd rather write it and get it right, and then I can use that for content. So for me, it's a little repurposing of the content, but I try to not read it. I try to just take the points that are in there. Some people don't use any notes. I don't, I think it's whatever you're comfortable with. If you, and by the way, you made a point a little while ago too about the centering of the notes, but that it's okay to just that's probably my paranoia because I feel like I have to have my notes when I'm looking at a question that I want to ask you or my
Mhm.
guest, but then also you. But I don't know why I should really care if my notes are a little bit over
Yeah.
here. If I glance over to okay, what's next? Okay, boom, here you go.
And you know what? I'm going to give you probably one of the. Um, I'm a very visual person, right? And I love painting that picture for people because when they see it, they're like, "Oh yeah, I just never noticed that." You made the absolute greatest point there. It does not matter. It does not
Yeah,
matter where your notes are. When you look at any late night talk show hosts, they will
yeah,
pull
they've
up
got
their
pieces of paper in
they
there.
will pull up their index cards and like, okay, next question. And they look at it. So what is the difference? It's
All right,
us.
you've convinced me. I'm moving my notes over to the side,
Think about
and
it.
I am now a little bit
Yeah.
more directly looking at you.
It's
So,
us. We
yeah,
have that barrier. We think, oh no, I have to be perfect. I have to do. I will pull up a post-it note and go like this. All right, so I've got another question for you here. So and
yeah,
read it. It doesn't matter. The audience isn't. Oh my goodness, she put up a note. We can't watch it any longer. They don't.
right. She's not professional. What?
Right.
Oh, I love it. Well, so Lion, pursuant to the topic that we're talking about, why is it important these days? I mean, you talked a little bit about how, maybe during COVID, video kind of picked up, but we really didn't care because, COVID. But now it's not COVID, and now video is still very much videos and lives, and virtual is just exploding even more than we thought it could. So why is it important that
It
we?
is. It's absolutely important because it's your brand, right? You are your brand. I love pushing back. So, for an example, my family, we did a whole podcast series. My wife had one, my son had one, I had one occasionally. I still do it. And that podcast got picked up and noticed. And then we were on NBC Nightly News. And then the Today Show came and interviewed
Wow,
us and did all this stuff. It's because we were visible, but not just that, it's because we were professional, right? These places look at you, they see you, and they want to bring you on. In about 2 weeks, I'm going on to two local news TV shows to promote my business and my product. Right,
nice.
visibility is what matters. But if I don't look professional, if then how are they going to take me serious? How is someone going to
Yeah,
take me serious if I say, "Hey, join my program that costs X dollars," but my
right.
virtual space looks like it's $10 from a local hardware store, right?
Right, and I will just say too, for those of you out there listening, and you hear that word professional, right? Professional is very subjective, so
Mhm.
I'm sure you'd agree that I mean, people there are probably people that go, "Oh, is she credible? She wears a hat," but this is part of me, it's part of my brand.
Yes.
I own it, right? So whatever professional means to you, and it will mean different things to different people depending on what you do, just own it and understand what that means to your brand and to your business because my perception of professional might be different than Stella's or Trisha's or Jerry's. Jerry working in, more of a traditional type of a workplace or a professional job, and Stella being an entrepreneur, and Trisha being an amazing rock wall climber. Your version of professional for your brand is going to vary. So when you hear that word, because I do, and I go, "Oh, professional," that means I have to wear a suit and tie. And no, that's not what.
Right.
And I mean, look
Exactly.
at Lion. You're here. You're wearing a baseball hat with a logo on it, and you've got some cool background. So for you, that is
Yeah,
professional. That might not be
absolutely.
appropriate for somebody who's dealing with in finance or something. I don't know. It
Right.
might still be, but
And right. And so to delve into that a little bit more, exactly, you're exactly right. Professional does not mean in reference, it's just like the word success, right? Success is different to different people,
thank
right?
you. Perfect.
Um, I wear kilts. I wear a
Yeah,
kilt into a professional meeting that we're about to sign $1 million contract deal. It's who I am. Accept me. I have walked out of deals because people have said, you can't wear that in here. Well, then you can't get my business. But
awesome.
that's my strength, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay with
And
that.
you
I'm
own it.
okay
Yeah.
losing that. Yes.
Yeah.
So when I speak in that professional sense, I mean more so of your virtual space,
Yeah.
right? Whereas um I don't want to be in a meeting where I'm moving and I get that Patrick Swayze ghost kind of thing where I'm moving around and I disappear and I hold up a product. You're about to ask me to invest into your company and business, but you can't invest into a $30
Yeah.
product that makes you look professional if you use a virtual background, or
Yeah.
simply put up, like, I have my clients get a $20 prof- um, photographer's backdrop if to hang up on their wall,
Yeah.
so they don't have to deal with that, right? So that's what I mean about why you need to look professional, or
Oh, yeah.
to make your surrounding professional. I'm not going to have you come into my space and I've got laundry on my floor, for
Which
an
I have
example,
had, which I
you
have
know,
had.
hide
Yeah.
it, or
To
so.
whatever your extent you're able to, right? Because not everybody's
Yes.
able to get, but I will say I so appreciate this because you and I even have had, I think we had a quick discussion about this, about, and I have this, it's part of my guest guidelines when I have new people that I don't know coming in. One of the things that I absolutely make sure I have to let them know is, if you're doing this, if you're going to be on my live, you need decent bandwidth and you need a decent microphone. And you don't have to spend a lot of money on it,
Yeah.
but I'm telling you, your laptop microphone sounds like
Horrible.
shit.
Horrible.
Don't, and you got to be aware of that stuff. So that's the kind of thing. Go out and buy yourself a pair of plug-in buds. They're better than your, whatever it is that you're using, that you sound like you're super far away.
Yeah.
Those little things, those make so much of a difference when you're trying. And it doesn't matter if you're wearing a steampunk hat, or you have a cool video background, or you're just sitting in front of your desk and you're in a job interview or whatever. It just um, makes you feel, it makes the perception is that you care enough to invest on those little things. I want to look
Mm,
good, whatever that means to you. Doesn't mean you have to
yes.
wear a suit, but and I sound good, and I'm presenting myself the best way that I can. So I so appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Because when a bottom line comes down to it, like you just said, if you the person whom you're speaking to, if you're asking them to invest in you, they're thinking, no matter what we think, we're being judged, right?
Yeah,
They're thinking you haven't invested in yourself. You're a
yeah,
mindset coach and you're going to teach me how to do something, yet still I'm
right.
hearing, so yeah.
Yeah, or I can't even hear you, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, people get scared with technology,
Mhm.
and I think there's a perception out there. I think I believed this because I was told my whole life, well, when you start getting into your middle years, well, even really after your 20s, you're just not going to learn things as fast. It's going to be really hard to learn. You can't learn a language. You can't do
Mhm.
whatever. I find that so not true. I don't feel like I learn any differently. And caveat this, I do have a computer information systems degree, so I've been in tech for a long time, but I don't find it any more difficult to learn things now. I just learn different things. I'm interested in learning different things, and I learn things maybe a little bit differently. But I think tech freaks people out if they're not already comfortable in a technical whatever it is, and all
Yeah.
of this stuff sounds technical, even a microphone sounds technical to people. Do you run into that where people are just, I'm not
Yeah.
technically savvy, I can't do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have so many testimonials when people come back to said, Lion just made this as simple as I was so afraid. I thought this was going to be so crazy and hard. And again, it goes into what I said. If it works, simply do more of it, right? I want it to work because if it's hard, I don't want to do it, right? I
Yeah,
want it to be.
right.
People see all of this fancy stuff they see. And if you notice, I have not used one of my graphics in this, right? Because I do that just to draw attention, garner attention in meetings, and just have fun with it. In a professional setting, I don't have all this graphics flying and all this. This
Yeah,
is simply what I want. This band to people to see what I do on the screen, right?
yeah.
My presence draws in the right tribe for me. They see the energy. So when I am dealing with someone with tech and they're asking, I can never do all that. I just simply agree with them, Beth. I I do. I don't want
Yeah,
to work with someone who's not like,
yeah,
it's one of my my things that I will never do, right? My coach told
yeah.
me, write these down, the things you will never do. And I don't work with people who take my piece. I means
Yeah,
I have to chase you down. Well, did you do it? No, because it was going to be so. Did you even try? No, because it was going to be so. Okay, well, thank you very much. You enjoy the rest of your
I
day.
love that because there is such a hand-holding sometimes, and I get it. If people are here to learn, then we are there to help them and coach and teach. But there's also an element of you have to take responsibility for
Yes.
doing the work, right? And it's not easy. It wasn't easy for me to learn how to edit videos or to learn how to create clips or to figure out what microphone works best. But over time, you just, you do it and you realize that it does work.
You know what?
So,
That goes right into and I have this here on my desk. So I recently, and this again, this is that learning thing. So I recently took up lock picking, right? So this is
oh, no
a
kidding.
right.
Of course you did, Lion.
I was like, I
Of
just
all the
want,
things that you were gonna say, I'm like, I don't know, you recently picked up lock picking. Okay. You were
I was
literally the
bored.
only person I know that has ever said, it's a hobby, I pick locks. Yes.
Yeah, and I was just like, I just want to try something different, something new. So I started doing
That's
this,
funny.
and then at first, this took me maybe an hour, hour and a half to be able to pick it. I kept doing it, and guess what? I can do it now in under 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Because I didn't give up. I didn't let the lock tell me I couldn't be great. I didn't let technology tell me I could. How bad do you want it? Right?
Yeah,
Stop
that's true.
crying to me about, I want to be great. I want to have a business that does
Yeah.
this. My wife and I run three successful businesses, and it was hard at first. I have lives that people showed up zero. And guess what I did? I still did the live. My
Yeah.
coach tell me still
Same.
show up. And guess
Mhm.
what happens later? I have people 300, 500. We had 1,500 people on one of my lives, but I started at zero and I didn't
Yeah.
quit. My favorite saying I tell people, and you notice I get a little bit
I
more
know, you're very
with this,
passionate. I love
right?
well, this
I
show's all
do.
about passion.
I do. And I tell people the streets are not made for everyone. That's why they made sidewalks.
Oh. Ooh.
Being a solopreneur and entrepreneur is not made for everyone.
Yeah.
Go on a sidewalk. You think this is about, well, I don't want to work 9 to 5 and work for anyone else. You're going to work harder for yourself than you did for your boss. And if you aren't willing
Oh,
to do that, then you need to stay on the sidewalk. It's
I
not for you. It's
you are so this is exactly why I wanted to do this series is because the no BS because I was so tired of this, "Well, it's just easy. You're gonna earn 7 figures in 2 months." It is a shit show sometimes, and anybody who's looking to get into entrepreneurship know that you will have to work as hard or harder than you did in your traditional job. The difference is that for me, I love it, and I'm
yeah,
willing to do the work because I do love it, and so I love that. I love that this you exactly just crystallized my purpose for this show is it's not all it's ugly sometimes. It's
it
fucking
is.
ugly sometimes.
It
So
is.
I love
Man.
it. Let me go to the comments real quick here
Yes.
and let's see. Okay, so Trisha says old-fashioned handwritten index cards with bullet points can work, and it's okay to look at them. Yep, exactly what we were talking about. So that's what Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon do. Stella says, Trisha, oh, yes, I do. And if online, I tell my audience too, I keep them involved in my process. Not sure what that was in reference to, but I will go back to that one. Trisha says, I had a major misalignment issue when I set up my business when I tried to quote power dress and once tried to actually wear a dress to be a professional nightmare. Trisha, I did the same thing. I have gone up and down. I went from being very complacent, hoodies, not nice hats, but hats to cover me up. I just was sort of trying to drown into the
Mhm.
background for a while, especially right after I lost my job. And then I went a little bit very corporate because I was trying to be a career coach, and I thought, well, that's what I have to do. And I just didn't feel like me. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to start this live series, and I'm bringing back the hat. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So Tricia says, unless you're a professional laundry business, I think she was talking about when you said you have laundry in the background. Yes, if you are doing a video for a laundry service, or maybe you own a coin laundry, probably very appropriate.
Yeah.
Good point though, because I hear people complaining a lot on LinkedIn, like, "Oh, there's a swimsuit picture. Is this appropriate for LinkedIn?" And I'm like,
It
"Well,
is.
it's a swimsuit company and they sell swimsuits, so that's their business. So maybe it is appropriate." Trisha says, just try and learn and be connected to helpful people. Great advice all around. Sidewalks are not a failure either. Absolutely. 100%. So
Yeah.
the streets are made for some people. Otherwise, there's a sidewalk. Sometimes it's just you're in your house and you don't even want to go out, and it's
Yeah.
okay. It's whatever your goals are. Let's see. Stella is perfect start to this comment. Stella says, I've noticed that Swedes are doing more ums and ahs lately, clearly influenced by U.S. English. Stella, what do you got against U.S. English? No, we are horrible. We like words that get repeated. Leaksome. Hopefully, I'm not saying that. Altsa. I'm horrible with my pronunciation. All very common, but not so much sounds without meaning. But as I said, it's growing. Yeah. Yeah, like is a big one here too, even though I'm a Gen Xer and I say like a lot, but a lot of even younger folks do say it a lot. Spot on Lion Fludd, says Stella. I say it all the time. Being on your own is not for everyone. True statement. Okay, folks, we are getting near time. I have so much more that I would love to talk to you about, but we're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes. So, anybody who has any final thoughts, questions, tips, throw them in now, and we'll get to him. Mike Goggin is joining. Hey, Mike. Mike is one of my awesome former bosses and friends, and worked with him quite a bit. I like to deliver content that reflects me and my passion for the topic. This helps me in my
Yes.
delivery 100%. If you're
Yes.
passionate about what you're talking about, that's half the battle. Would you
Yeah.
would you agree, Lion?
G.I. Joe said that. Half the battle. That's it.
Of course, you're going to quote GI Joe. You're hilarious.
It is, but no, you're absolutely right. People ask me all the time, "Oh, how do you make content for this?" I don't. I make content for me
Yeah.
and my tribe who are like me. I want people who with my energy who are similar. They're going to gravitate towards it. I don't make
Yes.
content for them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I completely get it. All right, so I did allude to before you had teased in one of your posts that you were going to give us your secret for how do you get on all of these shows and podcasts and lives other
yes,
than just being an awesome badass because that's why I brought you on here, but and
thank
transparent.
you.
But what's your secret?
So there are a couple of things. The biggest thing I want to say is that you need to be in this sphere, right? You need to be in that circle. You cannot message and put one post and expect people to,
Amen.
just call up on you and so forth, right? So you need to be
Yes.
in that circle. There are platforms in which you can join. So, for an example, matchmaker.fm is one that I usually am on. It's a podcast kind of uh, club where you can put your hey, I'm looking to be on a podcast, an international one, I'm speaking on this. They have categories, so you can say, hey,
Interesting.
I'm looking to be on a mindset podcast, or I'm looking for guests, right? So that's a great professional one, that where that the people who are doing that are 90% professional podcasters.
Yeah.
So you're going to come on and you're going to get your information put out, right? So that's one. Another one also, if you are interested in being inside the television space, right? So there's a site called Harpo, HARPO, I think it is. When
Like
I say the
Harpo
acronym,
Marx.
when I say the acronym, so it's called Help a Reporter Out. Yes, so it is Harpo, right? So Help a
Oh,
Reporter Out. It's one that I've been on for years, and what
cute.
that is it's people in the news sphere. They are always looking for stories. They've got to fill stories every day in the news, right? So what I do is I'm on there and then I am saying, hey, if there's any reporters. So for an example, oh man, okay, I'll just sort of picture. So for an example, one of the reasons why I'm coming up on that is because I posted, and every year I post for 314, March 14th, which is Pi Day. So
Yeah.
I'm being interviewed for Pi. So a little quick tidbit for that brain thing. So I and my son also is really crazy. We do, and this is one of our light readings here. So here's a picture of him
One of your light readings is
with
pie.
the
So
with the shirt pie, and he has a pie book, and so we can literally recite pie. There's a competition that we're working to get into for Guinness, but he can recite pie, and to a certain level,
yeah.
right? So I am up to about 8,000 numbers that can go before it messes up and stuff like that.
No, 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 wait.
And
You can recite pi to
yes,
8,000 digits? Are you
right.
kidding me?
Yeah, the world record is 17 hours that he went before he messed up to do the
I
pie.
can do 2, 3.14. That's as far as I can go, so
And so my wife and I sitting on the kitchen one day and we hear our son, he's going through the numbers and I'm like, wait, I know that. And then he's literally just reciting pi. I'm like, did he just hear me? So anyways, but so help a reporter out. So I put it on there say, hey guys, I want to be able to come and talk about pie on 314. I got contacted by two news agencies, and they're flying me out and putting me on their news thing to show that I went on TV, and I went on a Zoom and proved to them, and so forth. And so, but I was in the know, so I continuously put inside Harpo, hey guys, I want to look for this,
Yeah,
or news reporters put what they're looking for. Hey, we're looking to fill a spot in 2 weeks. If there's anyone who does AI or who can speak on this new trendy topic or something. So I'm staying in that fold.
that's amazing.
Those are two ones that I would highly recommend for podcasting, and then also for maybe some national things, because like I've
Yeah,
been in some national television shows and being interviewed. Today's Show, NBC Nightly News, I think I said Good Morning America, a few
yeah.
of those ones. So yeah,
Well, I would also just say, knowing you, you do a really good job of when you have a conversation with somebody, you throw it out there, shouting out other people too. Also, when you
mhm,
have conversations with them is a great, and just generally networking. But you will go out and you'll be like, "Hey, I just had this amazing conversation with Betty Boop, and here's what we talked about." And it's just a real little quick thing, but I think people so appreciate that kind of it's the kind of the back and forth.
yeah,
I will also say, for anybody out there who's looking to get more into more formal speaking or appearances, again, the networking and the tips from Lion, but also just there are some traditional venues out there. We're going to have a guest in a couple weeks, Jenny Erickson, and she is the founder of Event Raptor. So there are a lot of those types of
yeah.
event a lot of virtual summits out there. There are speaking groups that you can join on various social media platforms. So a lot of different ways where people can really now up their speaking in video game. But go to Lion first and make sure that you're getting all the learning that you need. Right, that's right, Lion.
Prim and proper.
Exactly. All right, let me go back to the comments real quick. Let's see. Trisha Lewis, I'm thinking apple pie. Well, that's what I usually think of too, Trisha, when I think of pie. This is why I can only go two digits, because when I hear pie, I just think, oh, cherry, blueberry, apple, whatever. Stella says, I can hardly see the difference between 3 and 4. You're talking about pi, 3.14. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Stella. All right. Let's see. So Lion, before we wrap up here, how can people contact you, and what do you have coming up? And I'm going to pull up, because I got some of your links here in my
Yeah.
one of my captions here. So yeah, tell us how we can get in touch with you the best way, and what do you got coming up, for any promotions or
Love it,
anything like
love it,
that.
love it. Thank you for that. And this also goes into some of the training that we teach people and so forth. Stop, ladies and gentlemen, when a host or anyone asks you, how can they get in touch with you? Stop giving people 6 and 7 different ways to get in touch with you. The human brain doesn't want that. Give them one, two, maybe three, right?
Yeah,
So, simplest thing, first and last name at gmail.com is how you can reach me. And my email and LinkedIn is my preferred space to network and grow and learn. So people can contact me
awesome.
there. Make sure you follow me for more information to learn. I do tons of free tips and events and videos just to even give you smallest things,
Oodles.
the tips from earlier today. So yeah, so that's the simplest way to find me and get in touch with me.
Awesome. And we'll put all of Lion's information in the comments as well. So we can make sure that you have that, because I know nobody is writing this down, probably because it goes in and out so fast. But thank you so much, Lion, for being my guest on The Thirsty Professional. I so appreciate your candor. You're just, like I said earlier, you crystallize exactly what I'm looking for in here. Just talking about the reality of what you do and how you got here, because it's amazing at times, and sometimes it's a shit show at times. And
Yeah.
I appreciate the candor. So next week, February 28th, my very special guest is going to be Jay Stansfield. What can I say about Jay? There's so much. Just like Lion, he's just diverse and has an amazing background. He's a creative individual, broadly and deeply. He's actually a multi-award winning creative powerhouse. Literal. He sings. He's a musician. He is a literal rock star. Like, he is, no joke. He is frontman for a rock punk trio called All Hail Hyena. They've had a really cool viral video out there, so we'll make sure we get that in the comments for next week. He's an illustrator. He's a published author. He is creator of the Squibbles Empire. Does he like pineapple on his pizza? I don't know. We're going to find out. And his mission is to spark joy, inspire imagination, and create worlds where creativity knows no bounds. So look forward to that next week. Lion, are you a pineapple on the pizza kind of a guy?
I am, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. I am as well. I think it's good. So anyway, look forward to that next episode. If you're watching on LinkedIn, please make sure you are connected with myself and my guest, Lion Fludd. And if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Always helps. Reviews are always helpful. If you have any questions or comments that come up after the call is done, just put them in the comments or DM Lion or myself if you're able to. And above all else, congratulate yourself for getting real about your career, your purpose, and your passion. Thank you again, Lion. Miss Hattie Arbuckle and I and Lion all bid you a fond farewell and take it easy. See ya.